What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with the final bit of Destiny 2 news, or at least the final bit for the week I guess, because we possibly will get a trailer for Heresy early next week, but it's one of the final updates before the new episode drops, so Bungie recap and go into further detail about a bunch of rewards coming in Heresy. And in the twit this week they outline the full artifact perks for the new episode, as well as some new weapon mods, rewards associated with the dungeon race, updates to Fire Scene Finder, Heresy voiceover updates, which are rather interesting, as well as a couple of quality of life updates and fixes they have planned for the update next week. So, as always guys, I hope you find the video useful. If you do, a rating below really does help us out. But now, let's get into it. Before we talk about the Heresy stuff from the twid, the D2 team on X did say, to close out our Scorn-themed episode, the featured Nightfall has been changed to Birthplace of the Vile. And they say finish up some seasonal challenges and earn some glaives, with the archetype getting buffed next week. So there we go, keep that in mind. We also have bonus reputation across all of the core playlists this week, so that might be a useful one. But getting into the rest of the twid, firstly, there's a bit of a recap here for some of the Heresy stuff with a few new details thrown in. They reiterate we are getting the Destiny 2 Star Wars collaboration with the armor sets you can see on screen. They're going to be available in the Eververse store immediately at the launch on February 4th. So as always, I'm sure there'll be silver purchases, but let us know if you plan to grab any of those from this rather unexpected collaboration. It's going to be the biggest collab, or at least the biggest franchise that Bungie have collaborated with. So it's an interesting one. Give us your thoughts below. Otherwise, we get a new look at a couple of the Heresy weapons. So they say, for Heresy, we not only have a suite of great episodic weapons to chase, but we also have adept versions to add to your arsenal. They have quite a different color scheme, can fit adept mods, include a second origin trait, and also drop with additional perks in the third and fourth columns. And on top of the auto rifle that we saw the other day, we can see the grenade launcher as well, plus a new sword and linear fusion rifle from that set. I actually quite like the aesthetic on these, visually at the very least. Share your thoughts about that down below. They do add though, we don't want to spoil the fun of discovering weapons and perk combinations, but during our live stream you could see the first ever support strand auto rifle, which not only heals friends but spawns unraveling projectiles that will trace and hurt enemies. Plus they showed off the aerial denial arc grenade launcher, Psycho Pump, with a new perk called Rolling Storm that grants bolt charge after final blows. So a couple of reasonably juicy ones there. There's been a lot of conversation about crafting not featuring heavily or at all with regards to the actual seasonal rewards outside of the Vault of Glass loot. So as always, share your thoughts, but otherwise, the Season of Arrivals reprised set is also mentioned in the twit. So these weapons will be reprised with an updated perk pool and can be enhanced. I'm assuming it will just be these 5 weapons, but all of them will be available immediately on day 1 of Heresy, which is nice, so we'll be able to start going after those, and otherwise they reiterate again that they are reprising Vault of Glass weapons. So the last Destiny 2 raid that remained with no craftable weapons was VOG, and when Heresy launches, Vault of Glass will see its weapon pool reprised with new perks and will be craftable once you unlock their patterns. So for anyone who wondered, we will have to unlock the patterns once again, but they say we can earn drops with each one of our characters once a week, or go all in and earn an infinite number of drops when Vault of Glass is the featured raid in the weekly rotator. They don't specify when it will be featured in the new episode. I think according to the current schedule it'll be 2 or 3 weeks from now, although that sometimes is refreshed at the start of an episode, so we'll simply have to wait and see. Otherwise, there is the new Trials armor, and we get another look at it right there. The first weekend where we're going to see Trials, I believe, will be starting the 14th of February, as of course on the 7th we get the new dungeon, so it'll return on the 14th, but of course that'll make it the focus for that weekend, and I'm sure a lot of players will jump in to at least check it out. Otherwise, they go a little bit further into some of the Heresy loot with the Barrow Dyad, the new SMG, and they say we're not spoiling how you'll earn it, but it'll be totally worth it, and this Strand SMG will generate Blighted Seekers when shooting and regen ammo very fast when not, and we can see both the base exotic and the Eververse weapon ornament, which will be Dreaming City themed on this thing. That's the one on the left, I think. And otherwise there is the Lodestar, the first ever primary ammo trace rifle, which fires a beam of arc energy from the hip, or a burst if you aim down sights, and all arc damage sources will charge up its unique arc alignment meter. Then when filled, we can do a special reload to overcharge it and jolt enemies when we hit them again. So a recap of some of the juicy loot that we're going to get right there, and let us know any that you're looking forward to. Up next though, we get a full breakdown of the Tablet of Ruin, the upcoming artifact for the episode. It's really difficult to get the chart on screen in full right here, but column 1 will have Unstoppable Fusion, Overload Machine Guns, and then it will have Piercing Sidearms, Anti-Barrier Sniper, and Unstoppable Glaive, with column 2 having Overclock and Load, and while you're amplified or have Bolt Charge, arc weapons gain increased handling and reload speed. There's Deep Alchemy as well, where weapons with the Subjugation origin trait gain stability and reload speed for a short duration when hitting any target, and these weapons are also overcharged when that modifier is active. Plus, Volatile Marksman and Rapid Void Weapon precision hits and Rapid Void Weapon final blows will grant volatile rounds. And Volatile Detonations will be able to grant class ability energy via the boost for that. Then we have Legend Incarnate, and weapons with the Time Loss Magazine origin trait gain bonus damage, and these weapons are also overcharged when that modifier is active. Plus, column 2 will have Unraveling Orbs, and picking up an Orb of Power or a Tangle grants strand weapons unraveling rounds. Column 3 though has Hold the Line, and while surrounded, Machine Guns and Glaives gain increased reload speed and stability, and final blows will heal us. There's also Dielectric, and defeating arc debuffed targets will grant Bolt Charge, and the boost allows rapidly defeating arc debuffed targets to spawn Orbs of Power and heal a small portion of health. Plus there's King's Vestige, and defeating powerful Taken loads your weapon with Taken energy, and the next time you fire, it'll launch 3 Taken Seeker rounds that disrupt and exhaust targets, and exhausted targets deal reduced outgoing damage. So that's interesting. Plus we have Disruptor Sprite, and it improves the effects of Exhaust and Sever, lowering a target's damage output even further, and then exhausted targets will deal reduced outgoing damage, and exhaust is applied by disrupting combatants or by weapons with the Psycho Hack or Subjugation origin traits. But finally for column 3 is Photonic Flare, and defeating an exhausted or severed target with arc damage released as a blinding burst. But for column 4 we have Dreadful Finisher, and defeating powerful combatants with your finisher spawns special ammo for you and allies, and subjugators, tormentors or champions will spawn more ammo. There's also Maligned Harvest, rapidly applying volatile causes your next instance of void weapon damage to create a weakening burst. Flashover, and when you gain maximum bolt charge, you also become amplified, and lightning bolts deal more damage. As well as Horde Shuffle, where defeating unraveled targets with a weapon occasionally spawns a Threadling, and No Bell, where rapid glaive melee final blows grant special ammo glaives additional ammo, and blocking damage with glaives increases their melee damage to targets. The final column though will be Particle Reconstruction, where dealing sustained damage with fusion rifles or linears partially refills the mag from reserves and grants them bonus damage for a short duration against that target. There's also Elemental Supercharger, and defeating exhausted or severed targets with weapons that match your super element or grant super energy. Heavy Ordnance Regeneration, and dealing damage to targets with machine guns or rocket launchers grants damage resistance and increases grenade and melee regen for a short time. But lastly we have Defibrillating Blast, and stunning a champion grants maximum stacks of bolt charge and triggers an arc bolt that heals you and jolts combatants that it damages. And Void Flux, where defeating weakened targets with a void weapon applies volatile to nearby targets. So good to get a full breakdown of the artifact right there. Certainly a few nice mods, so let us know what you'll be rocking down below. Otherwise though, they talk about weapon mods coming to Heresy, and these are fragile weapon mods, which will offer some unique perks and open new building options, and adding some firepower to your episodic weapons. So once you've earned a new fragile weapon mod, you can navigate to your eligible episodic weapons and apply it as you would any other mod. Act 1 will offer 2 fragile mods, with more available in upcoming acts, and the example they give is Power of Resolve, where rapid hits with the weapon create a Taken Seeker projectile, which is strong against unstoppable champions. But of course these mods once again are sort of temporal for the duration of the episode, but it'll be interesting to see what they put in. And otherwise they talk about the dungeon race on February 7th. Of course there's an emblem that can be earned by watching that on the Bungie channels, plus there is the Gloaming Dark emblem, available for all opted-in Twitch channels streaming Destiny 2's Sundered Doctrine Dungeon from February 7th to the 11th. And there'll be the Heretical Halation emblem, and new Twitch subdrops for all opted-in Twitch channels streaming Destiny 2 between the 7th of February and March 4th. And if you subscribe or gift a sub on Twitch to your favourite opted-in Destiny streamer, that one will additionally be available. So keep those in mind ahead of the dungeon race. But here there's an interesting one about a Heresy voiceover. So they say with this being our final epilogue entry for the Light and Darkness saga, our teams have been taking great care to deliver meaningful narrative beats and story content for players to enjoy. However, due to ongoing strikes, you may notice certain voice lines being silent in game. However, we've enabled subtitles by default for this release to ensure players do not miss any narrative content. And they point out that players can alter the size, colour and background of text via the settings, and that some Heresy activities that have missing voice acting will display a warning before launching those activities. So essentially it seems some voice lines will not actually have been recorded. I don't know if that affects all languages or specific languages or what, but kind of a weird one, and I guess we'll see how widespread that issue is when we get to the episode. Otherwise, in the twit, they break down a bunch of Fireteam Finder mobile updates. So alongside the launch of Heresy, they'll be updating the Fireteam Finder experience in the companion app. It'll include better browsing, and instead of drilling into a single activity category, you can now browse all fireteams created across every category from the landing page. So if you only want to run competitive content, or maybe you prefer groups that welcome newbies, you can filter for that in one place and see what's available across any activity type. On top of that, there'll be online only versus allow offline. So you'll now see every fireteam listing regardless of its join setting when browsing. If a fireteam is set for online only, you'll need to be in game to join, but that means you can step away from the game to prepare a snack and find your next fireteam while you wait for it to heat up in the microwave. Plus there'll be a new filter option if you'd like to see only online or allow offline fire teams, as well as top level categories being added for those moments you have general activity type in mind, so you can still filter by top level categories like raids. And on top of that, there will be a new clan tab that displays any listings created by your fellow clanmates. On top of that, they say they're aiming to bring the same improvements over to the web-based Fireteam Finder in the near future. So some good quality of life updates for Fireteam Finder right there. Last thing of importance in the twit though is a monolithic memento update. So they say they're implementing a fix for the monolithic memento from Salvation's Edge, and in doing so they'll be changing how they are awarded. So for Salvation's Edge and Garden of Salvation, to get the memento they say hard wipe completions are no longer required, only a full clear. On top of that, a guaranteed drop on the first full clear if it has never been acquired, with a chance to drop on subsequent clears. And there'll be a weekly class lockout, so it'll be farmable when featured on Rotator, and the Master Mode full clears follow the same rules, however, are farmable at all times with no lockout. They also say a memento has been added to the Vault of Glass along with the reward refresh, and players who completed Salvation's Edge prior to this update will receive an in-game message letting them know that they are eligible to pick up a memento at the Cryptarch. So there's a sort of make good there, and a change and a bunch of fixes for actually acquiring it in the first instance. So guys, for today, that is the twit. There's a couple of extra bits in there about Revenant Bungie rewards and things like that, so I'll link the twit down below, but otherwise we'll be into next week really, probably with a trailer and more thematic reveal for Heresy ahead of Tuesday. So I look forward to that, but for today, give us any thoughts on what Bungie have discussed in the twit. If you've enjoyed the video, a rating below really does help us out, and feel free as well to get subscribed to the channel for more content. Otherwise though, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys very soon.